You can't make more money unless you either increase your deal flow, invest in more expensive properties, or a combination of the two. For most land investors, the size and composition of their deal flow is limited by available capital. What would you do if money was no object? In this episode of the Land.MBA podcast, we will discuss 5 creative financing techniques to acquire properties without using any of your own money.
Welcome to the Land.MBA podcast, where we go deep into the business of land investing.
What are we talking about today? Creative finance, deal structure?
Wouldn't it be cool if we could make more money without having to invest our money? For 2 reasons. 1, we only have so much money that we can invest. 2, we don't want to invest all of our money into one asset class. And that's just a bit dangerous from a typical investing philosophy. And 3, well, why not use other people's money? There's no, real limit to that. You can get multiple ways to do it, multiple people to invest, and, buy every good property that comes your way. How many do we pass up because, I've run out of capital, or I stopped mailing because I don't have enough money. Yes. I got to sell a few properties.
That's the big one. You've got, I hear people talking about that all the time where, they stop mailing and they stop that momentum in their business because they're out of capital. And I say, bull. And they say, well, I don't want a money partner because I don't want to split the profit. And I'm like,
meantime, I'm stopping my business.
Yeah, guess what? Half the profit at the returns we make on land is great. So have a combination of your own capital that you've got allocated plus other people's money. So
I think people have a way, they think of a business like a light switch. I can turn it on, I can turn it off, I can turn it on, I can turn it off. But a business is much more like a flywheel. It takes a little bit of energy to get that thing up to full momentum. But once it has a momentum, it carries you rather than you pushing it. And then when you try to stop it, it actually it slows down, doesn't slow down immediately, but it starts to slow down. And then when you got to get going again, you got to put that energy in again, get it up to full momentum.
And if you've got deal flow, even if you don't have the capital or you've got more deals than you can fund because you keep that momentum, you keep that flywheel going. Well, just wholesale them then. Make some money. You don't have to triple and quadruple your money every time or even double it. You can flip the paper. So very cool. So since we started out with OPM, let's elaborate on OPM.
So we're going to talk about five different creative financing techniques that will allow you as a land investor to purchase properties, as many properties as you want, without using your own money. So obviously, the first one that just pops in here, well, there's a lot that pop in my mind, but the first one that will pop in, let's use somebody else's money. So popularly known as OPM, other people's money. So tell me, Dave, how do you do this? Is there a standard way to do this, or are there many ways to do this?
Well, I think there's a basic standard. The favorite way I think in land investing is an equity partnership versus borrowing money. Now you can use a HELOC on your home if you want to take a small percentage of that, because look, if you've got $100,000 in equity on a HELOC, you can buy quite a few cheap raw land properties with that. But then,
I think you just identified a 6th way.
No,
borrow
it's
from
still
yourself.
It's still OPM. Yeah, you could use. So look. Okay, let's just talk about other people's money in partnering with somebody with a money partner. Let's just talk about a money partner. So a money partner, you can use there's a couple of companies out there that are funding raw land that will come beside you and be an equity partner. Some of them will actually take title. You market it, you sell it. When at the end of the day they close, and you basically split the profit. That's one way to do it. You can also use, like I said, a home equity line of credit, HELOC. You can also use, you can borrow against other assets like 401k loans or life insurance capitalization loans are fantastic as well. So those are some ways to use, OPM, to use
so you can go down the debt road or the equity road.
Correct. Debt road's going to be cheaper.
When I first started, Dave, one of the first things I did when I set up my business is, and I'm just the way I am. I don't like banks. I hate banks. I like credit unions because I own a credit union. I'm a member of a credit union. They're there to serve me, not to extract profit from me. So I prefer credit unions. And credit unions can also typically give you very good deals because they're there to serve you. So when I set up all my business accounts, I got a credit card. And that credit card had a 9.75 or 9.9% interest rate. And this was the key thing. The interest rate was the same whether you purchased something or whether you took a cash advance. And when you paid it back, it didn't prioritize one or the other. It treated it all the same. So I got this credit card with a $25,000 credit limit, which was basically a line of credit for $25,000 at 9 point whatever percent. Now, if you're buying and selling properties and you're getting 300, 400, 500% ROI on a deal within 2-3 months, what's 9%? That's a fantastic way to fund deals.
It is. And so when you partner with an equity partner, you're going to split the deal 50-50, 60-40, in ranges like that. So you're giving up a lot more of the deal, but you're also taking less risk. The money partner is taking most of the risk with regards to if it's a property that doesn't move for whatever reason. So, use the different methods as you see fit or you have available. But, if you're in a position where, you've buggered up your credit and, you've gotten into land investing to help increase your income and get yourself back into a financially sound position, then those lines of credit might not be an option for you because they're based on your credit history and your financials, whereas partnering with an equity partner is going to be based upon the asset and your experience. So if you're newer, you might have to, run that deal through somebody who is more experienced to help vet it, or if you're, or like if you're in our coaching program, our funding partner will approve it based on our approval. So those are I think the main ways to use other people's money.
Regardless, when you're borrowing money, even if you have great credit, there's always going to be a limit on how much you can borrow, how much the bank, or if you're borrowing against your retirement, whether it's you don't have to borrow against your retirement. You could, well, yes, you would. So, this is an important note. If you have a self-directed IRA or if you have an EQRP, you can't invest in yourself. So, but you can potentially borrow against those assets.
Well, I will no. If you have I have a self-directed 401k. There's self-directed 401k IRA. You can. It's a great place to buy property in it. You just cannot. There's certain restrictions on it, so you want to check with your plan administrator. But you can certainly buy land in it. There are some specificity, like for example, if you were to buy a rental house with it, you can't go and swing a hammer yourself and do the maintenance on it. But since we're not setting,
it's a very important point. But let's be clear about that distinction.
Okay,
you can buy land as an investment in a self-directed IRA, but that's it's the IRA is now sort of the owner of that property, and then the profits go to the IRA.
Exactly.
But if you want to
Stays
get
in that
money
retirement account
to buy property on your business account, your LLC account, you can't use that IRA money in your business account. You can't commingle the funds.
Correct. But you could borrow against it.
But you could borrow against it. Exactly.
Yeah. So if you
but
needed
there'll
that
always be
money,
a cap, right? You can only get so much out, so much blood from that stone. And even if you borrow against whatever asset you're bringing to the table, whether it's a credit card limit or whether it's going and getting a personal collateralized loan from a bank, there's a limit. But when you go the equity route, there's potentially no limit because, one, an equity partner may be able to bring more than enough money to the table, or you can get multiple equity partners. Is it just me, or is it getting harder and harder to count on a job for our financial security? Who would have ever believed that we would go from the lowest unemployment in 50 years to 40 million people unemployed? Whether you have a great job and want to create a second income, or you're recently unemployed, you need to check out Land.MBA, your one-stop shop for land investors. Investing in vacant land is a proven business model that can help you build a reliable and scalable second income. Imagine a business where you love what you do. There's no limit on how much money you can make. You can operate your business from anywhere in the world with an internet connection. And best of all, you can never be fired or downsized. If this sounds good to you, Land.MBA provides everything you need to get your business up and running and delivering income quickly. You get education, an end-to-end video course and optional coaching to help you get started faster and turn your energy into income. You get tools so you can automate and outsource the busy work and stay super organized. You get access to a thriving community of like-minded investors, which is a powerful way to share best practices and develop potential partnerships for growing your business. And finally, you get access to deal financing, so you never have to pass on a great investment opportunity due to limited funds. Our team has over a decade of real estate investing experience and has the knowledge and experience you need to help navigate any investing scenario. And with Land.MBA, we hold nothing back. Because there are no upsells, you get access to all of our combined knowledge right out of the gate. So don't wait to provide your family with financial freedom. Sign up today for Land.MBA's Soup to Nuts Land Investing video course. Just go to courses.land.mba and use coupon code FREEDOM to get 25% off. That's courses.land.mba and coupon code FREEDOM. And let us help you say goodbye to your job and hello to financial freedom.
And there's no reason that you have to stay with one. You could use all of those methods.
I've actually seen, I haven't done this myself, but I've seen a person who, what he did is he would put his properties out there for bid to equity partners and make them bid to get the opportunity to invest in those properties, which I think is utterly brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like a lending tree.
Yeah,
your own little
exactly.
lending tree. Yeah. So, okay. I think we talked about other people's money. Now, we've got four more ways to talk about. We've got option agreements, long closings, joint ventures, and assignment of contract. So, let's talk about option agreements. Howard, how do you define an option agreement?
So an option agreement is a contract between you as the land investor and the seller of the property that says you have the right, but not the obligation, to purchase their property or properties at a predetermined price for a predetermined period of time. So that period of time is whatever you negotiate. It could be a month, it could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, it could be a year, whatever you can get away with. The longer, the better, right? Gives you more flexibility. And at any point within that period, until you hit the expiration date, you can exercise that option agreement to purchase the property at the amount you agreed to when you created the contract. There's a third piece of that, which is, do you have to pay for the option agreement? And sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. You always want to go into this thing and try not to pay for it. So it's just a piece of paper. But sometimes either they will say, look, you're going to have to pay me for this right that you're purchasing. And so maybe it's $100 or something. And then even if at the end of the option period, if it expires and you don't exercise the option, they still get to keep that $100. which is the benefit to them for giving you this right.
Right. And that's just the cost of doing business. But that option might have saved you a lot of money if the deal didn't go through. So, when might we use an option agreement? So, and do you need to record it? So, you want to take that? You want me to do?
Sure. So, here's my recommendation on option agreements. Use it every single time if you can get away with it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have to pay for it. Because why would you pay for land, which now you have to hold, and you've got holding costs, and you're now responsible for the property taxes and potentially HOA costs or whatever other costs, but you're also out money until you can sell it. If you can get it on an option agreement, you control the property, you go market it, sell it, do a double closing, and you don't actually have to put any money out of pocket, in that model. So if you can get away with it, I would always try to use an option agreement. I always do try to always use an option agreement rather than purchase the property.
Sure. I mean, I think if it's a run to the bank deal, if it's a great deal, you figure out how to fund it and you take it down.
Yeah,
period.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I have used option agreement before if it's a property that may be not in my comfortable price range, or it's above a certain price range, or I'm not sure how much I can get for it. It's in maybe I got a deal accepted in maybe an outlier of the area that I knew, or it was kind of a new area, or the owner wanted more than I really wanted to pay, but I knew there was some spread in there, and I could still, if I could make some money, enough money to make the where the juice was worth the squeeze, and I could make some arbitrage without risking my capital, then I would do an option agreement. And I've sometimes done these with a long close. Now, I think it's a very important point. Did you talk about recording the memorandum of option?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
So I wasn't paying attention. Do you want to talk about that?
I find that to be common when we talk, but Yes. So do you record the option agreement? Well, you want to record something because it wouldn't be completely out of the realm of possibility that somebody would sign an option agreement with you and then go sell it to somebody else. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to sue them? Right? Or maybe they're not even attuned to the legal implications of it and they don't really care. They just, hey, this guy offered me money, so I took it. It happens. But so you want to record something because it will cloud the title and that'll make it really almost impossible for him to make a successful sale of the property without you. I mean, the whole point of the option agreement is it's a contract. You're both obligating yourselves to each other, and that other party needs to feel obligated. Now, the problem is if you record the option agreement, it now goes into the county records and it's searchable by other people. So they'll know the terms that you negotiated on that option agreement, including the purchase price. You don't necessarily want that. So what you can do is rather than record the option agreement, you can record something called a memorandum of option agreement, simply stating that an option agreement exists for this period, will expire on such and such a date. And therefore, when it goes through a chain of title analysis by a title company, they would say, until I see this or until we get past that date, there's a cloud on the title.
Right. So it's not perfect. If you have somebody who you have a buyer who really wants that property, if it's a competitive, high demand property, and they're sophisticated and really want to go around you, and they see the memorandum recorded, they do see the expiration date. So they can always contact the buyer and say, hey, this expires in 2 more months. They could ask the seller, how much are you selling it to them for? Oh, 10,000. Well, I'll give you 14 or I'll give you 12 if you let it expire.
If you want to exercise that option, that is your right. They do not have the right to block it.
Absolutely, they don't. But it could happen. None of these things are perfect. They're
Right.
good systems. They work most of the time, but you can get burned on
The
them.
more value in the deal, the more possible it is that, okay, if you screw me on this deal, I'll sue you. But if it's a small deal, everybody kind of knows it's not going to be worth the legal costs.
Right. Right. But and like I said before, if it's a run to the bank deal, just go run to the bank and get the money.
So quick story. So I did a mailing to a county in Arizona, and for whatever reason, my prices were too high, and things happen, right? And so my phone is ringing off. I mean, it's crazy. I'm just getting so many phone calls saying, yes, I want this deal. Yes, I want this deal. And I realized, oh my gosh, I priced this wrong. Not that I couldn't make a profit on it, but I just priced it wrong. So what I started doing with every one of those phone calls is, and this is, another little trick from my all-time favorite business book, Never Split the Difference, is I used something called it's kind of called an accusation audit is the technical term that Chris Voss uses. But basically, I start with, I owe you a big apology. When we priced these offers, my team put a wrong factor in there and they overpriced for all the letters I sent out to this county. They were all mispriced and they were all too high. And I know we probably created kind of an exciting opportunity for you and you're all excited to do it. But the fact of the matter is it reflects a mistake. So I can't actually purchase the price of that property. You're going to think I'm a terrible business person. And I'm just so sorry about this, right? Before they can accuse me of anything, I'm going to accuse myself of it. And they're going to say, it's okay, things happen, right? Because most people are nice, right? And then you come back and you say, but I'll tell you what, I can purchase it at this price, which is significantly lower, and we can move forward right now with the deal. Or if you think you'd rather try to get this price, what we can do is we can put it on a 6 months option. And if I can find a buyer to justify the expense, I'll still buy it for you at the price in the original letter. But, that sort of ameliorates my risk, in the deal. And I got quite a number of option agreements by doing it that way.
Yeah. So that's one way to walk back a campaign that was priced too high. I love that.
In fact, it was so effective that I almost thought I was going to start pricing high for all counties so that I can use that technique. Technique number 3, the extended close.
The extended closing. Now, so the extended closing is basically saying in your contract, hey, I need 120 days to close, or 180 days to close, or 90 days to close. And it's because you want to pre-market it. So it works very similar as an option agreement. You can do this whether you're closing directly with the person, or you can do it if you're closing through title. Now, if you're not opening escrow, you've got nothing recorded, nothing in process. If you've got a 90-day or 180-day option with the seller, well, that's great. That's a handshake. I mean, even if you gave them $50 or $100 for it to make it put a little more teeth in it, it's not very enforceable if somebody sends them another letter with a better offer. So even if you open escrow, it's pretty easy for somebody to just say, I don't want to sell.
If any one way you can strengthen that though with escrow is even if you just put $100 in that escrow account towards the purchase, it really strengthens a legal position so that you can say, look, we've got a contract. Money has now passed, even if it's in escrow. And so when it goes to the court system, because money has passed, they will take that much more seriously than if no money had passed. So for the price of putting $100 into an escrow, you could at least threaten them with legal action if they pull out.
Hey folks, my name is David Van Steenkist, and I've been a real estate investor for over 10 years. I've used lots of different tools, but none of them has done for my business what Land.MBA does. Land.MBA covers every step in the land investing process, from ordering mailing lists to marketing, sales, and closing the deal. What I really like, though, is it anticipates my needs. When I think, oh, I wish I had a quick and easy way to evaluate return on investment on a potential property, look no further, Land.MBA does it. If I want to edit a deed after Land.MBA creates it, it can do that too. Most systems just stick you with a PDF that's uneditable, and you got to go back into the system and edit the fields and do whatever you need to do, and it's a real pain in the rear end. Land.MBA simplifies it. If I want to send 1 or 5 or even 40 neighbor letters at the click of a button, bam, Land.MBA does it. But even with all that inherent capability, you get access to Land.MBA community, you get weekly mastermind calls, and you get the best mailing rates in the business with no volume commitment, which is freaking awesome. Because if I just want to pop one contract to somebody, I don't have to pay $1.50. I still pay the bargain basement rate. And on top of that, customer service is stellar, quick, and they just do a great job. I've been very, very happy, very pleased with it. And look, I've been running my business on Land.MBA for over 2 years. So take it from me. If you're serious about your land business, then check out Land.MBA at facebook.com/landbizautomation. That's Land, B-I-Z automation. And if you want $100 off, tell them you heard it from me, David Van Steenkist, on the Land.MBA podcast. At the end of the day, most of it is about as powerful as a handshake, because you're not going to spend the time and the money and the resources to go after them.
There's reality and there's perception.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I've done several of these. So I'll give you a great example of one where, I think the option where you record the memorandum of option is stronger because you get a little more clouding of the title. However, so I had a deal once where I was working in a county that I'd worked before. I knew the prices very well. I think I offered $5,000 for this 40-acre parcel, and the buyer just wouldn't come below 9. She countered at 10. I got her down to 9. So I'd be all in 10 if I closed through title, a little bit less. And I knew I could, I'd come up to, I would pay maybe 7 for this property, because I knew I could sell it for all day long for 15. And so most people would just pass on that. So I said, look, and I'd been selling properties in that area. I knew they moved pretty well at that 15 price. Look, can you give me, 90 or 120 days to close and to get that price? Sure. So I didn't even, I opened escrow with it, and I found a buyer in a couple of weeks for $15,000, and made a quick $5,000 arbitrage.
No matter how you look at it, and I think there's a mistake people make is they think, somebody told me that on a cash deal we should be getting 300% ROI, on a terms deal we should get 1,000% ROI. Don't worry about those numbers. Make money, right? And make money quick. And in your case, essentially, it was a double closing. You're no money out of pocket, which gave you an infinite ROI. So it's a deal.
And so I had maybe 2 hours, absolute most of my time into that deal. So I'll take $2,500 an hour all day.
Yeah.
So the next one, I guess, would be joint ventures.
So this is your specialty. Dave, the master of the joint venture. So what is necessary? What is sort of the necessary parameters for a joint venture to be an appropriate model and to work?
Well, you got to have parties. Usually it's 2, but it could be more. But let's say you've got 2 parties that have something equally beneficial to bring to the table. For example, a recent, you might have. Let's come back to a seller that doesn't want to come down and meet your price to take it out. Um, you could do an option, you could do a long close, or you could JV with them. You could set up a JV agreement with that owner that says, well, okay, look, I know you need, let's say, $10,000 out of the property. In order to buy it right now from you, I'd really need to pay $5. But if you want to provide the property, I'll market it and sell it, and for whatever amount above that 10 that we can get for it, I keep. Deal? They bring the property, you're bringing the marketing and the sales and all the business and closing and everything it needs to sell that property, and you make the arbitrage. Now I'll talk about another a deal that I'm in the middle of right now. I've 16 properties, and the seller's bringing me more properties. He's a tax lien investor. He's not set up to market and sell raw land. It's not easy for him, especially below a certain price point where realtors aren't interested in it, which is primarily where we land investors like to play. And so we had done a deal. He had received a mailer from me a couple of years ago. We had done a deal on, I think, 3 properties. He sold them to me cheaply, bought them, resold them. So a couple of years later, fast forward, he has 16 properties that he's taken back from the county. And, he knows how to do the quiet title and everything. He called me, said, hey, you want to buy any of these? And it was in an area where, beautiful, nice area. I just couldn't find enough data to figure out what to pay him. And since we'd done business before, I didn't want to lowball him. And I basically told him, I said, man, I'd really have to lowball you. So why don't we just JV of these? I have all the marketing and sales set up. You don't, but you have the properties. You bring the properties. I'll market it and sell them. We'll subtract your cost basis and split the difference. How's that? He loved it. And so we've sold, I think, 5 of those 16 properties now. Everybody's making money and everybody's happy. And I have zero money out of my pocket for acquisitions. I've spent some money for, drone footage and marketing. That's about it.
So joint ventures work when both parties or all parties bring something unique and valuable to the table that complements the other party. If the other party can already provide what you're bringing, then there's really no value in it. It has to be complementary value to say, okay, if we do this together, I bring this, you bring that, and together we can go sell it and split the profit. That makes sense. That works.
Absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 5, assignment of contract.
Assignment of contract. So everybody has heard the term wholesaling. Now, before I got into land, I was flipping houses, both fix and flips, and doing some wholesaling, but I mostly bought from wholesalers and did fix and flips. But the term wholesaling in land is a little bit different. In houses and even in commercial real estate, you don't actually take down the property and pay for it and then just flip it to another investor for a smaller arbitrage. That's what you do in land. In houses, you flip the paper. You say, look, I've done all the marketing, all the work. I've got this property under contract. I don't want to take it down, or I don't have the means to take it down. Or sometimes that's your business because you're doing volume. Pay me I'm going to sign the contract to you for a fee. I've paid anywhere from $5,000 to $25,000 assignment fees on houses. So in land, I see most people that are doing wholesaling volume, cheaper properties, let's say paying $1,000 for a property that they could sell for cash for, $3,000 to $4,000, $4,000 to $5,000 if they marketed it, put it out there and marketed it. So, but they might have the property for 90 days, 120 days, whatever, and they're trying to do volume. So instead they decide, I'm going to have a buyer's list of other investors where I'm getting properties. Now I'll buy it for 1,000, sell for 2. They can still the investor who buys it from me can still easily double their money, and they don't have to do the upfront mailing and marketing. They can just buy my deals. Now, if you don't have the $1,000, especially in volume, well, just flip the contract. You got it under contract. So instead of doubling your money, maybe you buy for 1,000, sell for 1,750, something like that, or 1,500.
Contract is what?
The contract is the purchase agreement that you have between you and the seller, and it is assignable. So, even if your contract doesn't say it's assignable, it's still pretty simple to work out but you should add some verbiage into your contract that says that makes it assignable.
You want the verbiage in there so that if you assign the contract, the seller doesn't feel like it's a bait and switch. It's just part of the contractual, that they've signed.
You don't need their permission. If you didn't have that clause in your contract, then you would need to get their permission and probably do a supplemental agreement that says, hey, this person's going to actually close on it. Just makes it a little bit more hassle. So it's half a sentence, that says.
So what you're saying, though,
this person, yeah. What
is that? The way most people think about wholesaling in the land business is not really what wholesaling is in the house wholesaling business.
That's right. So it's more like wholesaling in the widget environment. So I'm an electronics manufacturer and I'm selling to a distributor at wholesale prices, and then he's going to sell at retail at another margin. That's more like what land business people talk about as wholesaling. It's just selling for less margin versus flipping the paper, assignment of contract.
Got it. So it's about flipping paper is the way if you do it that way, you're no money out of pocket. You're simply saying this has value. This is how much value you should ascribe to it, which is more than it's costing me. And so I'll just flip you the paper and take the difference. Now you still have to pay. So they're basically giving you that wholesale, the difference between wholesale and retail. They're giving it to you for the piece of paper, and then they'll go and sell it at the higher value.
Exactly. Now you should, if you wholesale to your investor, and you should not expect payment from your investor until he completes the close with the seller, because maybe something will come up and they're not able to close. Maybe there's something you didn't find in your due diligence that they did and they're unable to close. So you shouldn't, and that shouldn't take very long for them to close with the seller. Or you should at least have a policy with because you want to do repeat. This is your customer. This is their investor. You want to have a good relationship, or at least you want to have a very solid refund policy that if they pay you up front for that contract, that you have a refund policy in place, so that if they can't close it because there was something, screwed up with the chain of title or something you didn't catch, that you should be able to refund that money.
Absolutely right. All right, we're just about at the end of our time here. And I guess the key point I would love to add about this is that what we talked about today were 5 creative financing ways to be able to acquire properties with no money down. And that really will allow you to grow your business much faster without the restraint of your personal capital abilities. What we didn't really get into was, okay, what's the how? We talked about the what, but what's the how? How do you really employ each of these techniques to get successful? What is the right situation in which you would use other people's money versus an assignment of contract? Or in this situation, no, a long closing period would be the best way to go. Or in this situation, it would be a terrible way to go, because not all situations are suitable to all of these techniques. And that is where, having a good coach who's been there and done that can really walk you through the how and when and help you succeed in these techniques. So if you have any interest of going another layer deeper, please go to Land.MBA. to the website and sign up for a 30-minute discovery session. And we can kind of talk about where you are in the land business, what you're trying to accomplish, and how we may be able to help you get to your goals faster. We would love to chat with you. It's no obligation. It's completely free. So give us a call. Let's do that.
Absolutely. And we've also got funding options for you.
Hoorah.
Cool. All right, man. Have a great day.
See you next time.
Adios, everybody.
We hope you enjoyed this episode, had a bit of fun, and walked away with some actionable insights that you can apply to your business. Dave and I have got some great content and interviews planned, so don't forget to rate and review, and of course subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. If we mention any interesting links or tools, you'll find them in the show notes. To learn more about Land.MBA, visit our website at, wait for it, Land.MBA. See you next time on the Land.MBA Podcast.